Hello and welcome to my channel and to my playlist Sewing Made Easy. My name is Lilo, I'm from Germany and I've been already producing different tutorials for you for YouTube to learn something about sewing or about sewing machines. In this video today I would like to answer some questions which are often being asked again and again. Somebody says, why should I buy an industrial sewing machine instead of a normal household sewing machine? What is the difference, or why is it so good to buy one? Well, most of these questions, or some of these questions, I have already answered in some of my other tutorials all about the Pfaff industrial sewing machine. But there's one or two ideas I would like to tell you anyway, again, or new about it, because if you want to buy an industrial sewing machine, there are certain things you should know about to make the decision. And that's what I'm going to tell you right now. As the industrial sewing machines are not so cheap if you buy them new, there's often the question, well, is it advisable to buy a used one? And my answer to that is yes. You can buy a used one. You do really go to a proper dealer who has a knowledge of them and selling more than one of these machines, where you can try the machine and ask him all the questions you got for it. And usually with a proper dealer you also get a certain kind of a guarantee anyway, if something goes wrong, that you can go back to him and have it repaired. But you got to know anyway, if you buy an industrial sewing machine, it's so much better made than any kind of a household machine. The material all over the machine is perfectly meant to be used again and again for hours every day, every week, every month. So that would definitely be a good decision to do. The next thing is, what kind of engine should you have on this machine? The engine hangs underneath the table of your sewing machine. There's always different motors on any kind of sewing machine, because on a household machine you got everything inside the head. In the whole top of your machine you got the engine and you got everything in. Not so with an industrial sewing machine. So with the engine I do suggest, ask your dealer right away that you would like to have a 220 volt and not a 380 volt one. Because with a 380 volt one, your engine runs continuously all the time and makes a noise. With a 220 volt one, your machine only makes a noise in the moment you start sewing and using it, like mine here. You see, I've done a couple of stitches. When I'm finished with it, there is no noise from the machine whatsoever. And that's very nice if you're sitting on this machine a long time during a day. And the next important thing is to make the decision on which transportation you would like to have on this machine. Well, the normal and the easiest or the oldest transport system on an industrial sewing machine is the normal transport that you got. That means you see on your plate where your needle stitches in, that is your transport underneath. And when you do your sewing, the transport will lower when it's at the end. It goes forward, it comes to the top with its teeth, and it pushes back while you're sewing your material. It goes back down and so on. But the hole for the needle stays exactly in the position. That is the very, very normal industrial sewing machine, which I not necessarily suggest you should buy. I suggest to you to buy one with a so-called needle transport. If you have a needle transport machine, your sewing will be so much easier, because it's not only the underneath transport that guides your material towards the back, it's also the needle, because you can see now when I do this movement, my transport comes up when it's in the front position, In that moment my needle will stitch into here from the top, and the transport from underneath, including the needle, will take my double or tripled material towards the back before it goes down again. The needle goes up, it's out then, and when it's back in the front position, my needle goes in and it pulls my material with the underneath transport towards the back. And that means if I have 2 or 3 or 4 layers of material together, of course with the needle going in, it stays together. It will not be pushed over like when you have this and only the under transport is moving the bottom layer the most. That's why sometimes when you do some sewing and you think, funny, when I did the cutting, they were exactly even on the edge. And now I stitched it and I got 1/2 centimeter standing over. So that is the reason why because you only have an underneath transport. For those industrial sewing machines, there's also a so-called triple transport. That means it's the underneath one, it's the needle coming in, and the foot itself is a doubled foot again, where one of the doubled foot lifts up and also takes the material towards the back. Of course, that is for not moving material, the very best. But it is a very special machine also for very heavy materials. And if you ask me, for my idea, for my opinion, I prefer just the needle transport machine for any kind of sewing that you will have to do. And I just show you here again how this works, and maybe you can see it now with this system, how the needle goes in the front and you see it's going towards the front, it's in now, and now watch it how the needle goes back and then it goes up again. And that's my nice needle transport that I got on this machine. So that is one thing. And then somebody says, well, I've been watching your videos in YouTube and I always see that you work with one and the same foot. Isn't there any other feet for this machine, the presser foot? Well, of course, there's quite a few different presser feet for the sewing machine, but you will find, if you would buy one like that, that you will have one favorite one before you would buy any other ones as well. The same with the guides. Is there any guides for the machine? Yes, there are loads of different guides. The simplest ones are the magnets that you just put on the widths how you want like to stitch. And also there's so many different kinds. They're all magnets, they stick to your machine and you can do any kind of sewing. If you don't like the magnets, there are these very cheap ones with a screw, and you got the fitting screw holes here that you would fasten onto the machine and then put it in the widths how you like to stitch. And there is more efficient ones that goes into the needle position that comes from the top, and you can at any time just flop it away or put it back down again. So you see, if you have a machine like that, you will find any kind of tools to go with it anyway. The same, somebody said, can I use on my industrial sewing machine also some guide to have my tapes going through, which will do my edges nicely. Also that you will find. There are special feet for it as well, although sometimes if you got the right one like I got here, I can even do this with my foot that I got here on at the moment on, which I do most of my sewing with. My tape goes into here, it gets folded into the 4 parts together, and I can clean off any edge then with it as I wish. But now we come, last but not least, to the different feet that I was talking about. This is a very, very special foot here, which is meant to put a rolling in non-visible zipper into your clothes. You can see by the 2 guides underneath here where the zipper can roll in. And this is, in case if you haven't seen this before, this is just a protection so I don't get my fingers caught into it. The same I could show you on another foot that I got here, which is actually one of these special feet to have your special tool on for doing the edges. But I personally don't really like those finger protection ones. Although in Germany, and I believe anywhere in the world now, it is by law that you got to have these on the foot so people don't get the fingers caught in while sewing. The reason why I don't like them, I've seen it, that somebody stitched through the fingers anyway with a sewing machine with this particular protection on. And believe me, when you get your finger caught into that and get the needle through, it's more difficult to get this out than if you don't have the protection. That's why when I'm sewing and you're watching me, you hardly never see that I have a finger protection on. Alright, so that is another foot. You can see, like I mentioned before, it is a special foot for this particular tool. The next foot I show you here only got on one side the foot, which is very nice if I want to be very, very tight onto a zipper. I'm stitching this in. You can have this foot on the right side or you can have it on the left side and the needle will stitch right there through the middle. Or you got one with very, very small sides on each side, which again is very good for certain zippers to really be tight onto them. But that's not all of them yet. First of all, again, you can see on this particular one, this one I had specially made for me. I had it cut off here and closed there again for this particular tool without my finger protection, as I mentioned before. Or you get one which is very small, just for one side of the zipper, but you got a wide side, because it all depends on which kind of transport you got underneath. Because this foot, you can see, is still running on top of my transport there. Otherwise, if you have a just one-sided one, it could mean if it doesn't get on top of the transport properly, maybe your material wouldn't be transferred on. So that's what you got to watch out when you buy different feet, presser feet for these, that it always got to be on top on your transport. Otherwise you got a problem with the material not being transported on. And on all these you can see there's just loads of different kinds, which when you start sewing you will find this one is better for one job and the other one is better for another one. Last but not least, on my feet I got these special Teflon feet. They are very good for materials that don't like to be stitched when the normal foot doesn't like to slide over. There are also certain sprays you can use for some materials, but these feet are very, very good for such kind of material. But what's also not so nice, as you can see, this one is quite a bulky one. And if you're trying to stitch something where you got to be very exact in corners or something, you don't see very much underneath the foot. That's why I personally, although it's a very good foot for sliding with the Teflon on, but I don't like it very much because I don't see so much when I do the stitching. That's a Teflon one which is much finer, much smaller, so I prefer definitely this particular one. Well, my friends, or should I say hello Frank. Frank is one of my YouTube customers. I don't like the word fan. Fan sounds like I'm a star. I'm not a star, I'm just Lilo. But okay, Frank keeps asking me, please show me this, please show me that. I hope, Frank, that I answered your questions with this particular video, all you wanted to know about if you should buy yourself an industrial sewing machine or not. So with this, my friends, I like to say goodbye for today, for this video. I will try to do a next video for you very soon, I promise. As soon as I got time for it, I will do one. And it will be probably on the Janome household sewing machine, which I just recently bought myself, because a normal industrial sewing machine I cannot do any buttonholes with, so I needed to buy myself a new sewing machine household which do buttonholes as well, and I will explain to you that sewing machine very soon, as soon as I find the time to do it. God bless, and I wish you a good time. Until next time, give me some thumbs up, that wouldn't harm at all, and give me some nice comments. Goodbye for now.